Video games can take all different kinds of shapes and sizes, from the action-packed thrill rides with high-tech budgets, or the more silly and fun games that are meant to give you a good time with friends. One pretty universal idea though is that they take a ton of effort to make. Even though some may try to ignorantly claim that game devs are lazy or incompetent when the game doesn't meet a certain standard, a lot of hard work still went into creating what's being offered. So imagine how hard it is for indie developers to make games when there's generally a smaller team and budget at play. It's safe to say before indie devs create a big project, they likely have experience with a smaller project to get that feel of making a game. Before Toby Fox made Undertale, he had previously made an Earthbound ROM hack, and before Christian Wright had worked on Sonic Mania, he had worked on the iOS and Android ports of Sonic 1, 2, and CD, just to give some examples of what I mean. But what if instead of a ROM hack or a recreation of already existing games, that first big step into game development was straight up a whole new game, and one that's meant to be a light experience that gets across some ideas from the creator? Well, what I described does exist of course, and that's this little RPG game called Escaped Chasm. This game right here was created by a person named Temmie Chang. If that name sounds familiar at all, she's an artist that worked on Undertale, so if you're wondering if the Temmie village in that game was named after anything or anybody, well there you go. Now Bob, well I don't have anything looked up on Bob, I'm sorry. I've heard a bit of her from time to time over the years, but I only recently became familiar with her after finding her Twitter and other social media. She's a really great artist with tons of art and animation that has left me absolutely amazed, and she's also been streaming games on Twitch. I've been having a good time watching through the VODs, and I recommend checking her stuff out if you haven't already.
Oh, that's right, I got the life! Oh.
Back to Escaped Chasm though, released in April of 2019 on PC, Escaped Chasm essentially serves as Temmie's first go-around at making a game. Sure, she did work on Undertale, but this was her first time heading a video game herself, and actually designing the gameplay with her concepts to express. RPGmaker was the program used to make this game, as RPGmaker is generally a more user-friendly way to start off making a video game, and a number of games like One Shot and Amori were created using RPGmaker, so this program is not one to undervalue. Now, just because this is Temmie's first game doesn't mean it's just some playtest room or something like that. Escaped Chasm very much has ideas that it wants to get across, and those ideas are ones with pretty somber and surreal tones that have made this game stick out as its own experience worth checking out. This is still a small RPG Maker game though, and when I say small, I mean about 20 or 30 minutes small for a full playthrough, and about an hour if you want to get the other endings, which are just bad endings, so you may not even do those. As a result, it's kinda hard to talk about this game without spoiling anything, considering it's such a small experience. So if you are interested in checking this game out, I'd recommend downloading the game and playing it for yourself before watching this, especially because the price you pay for this game is completely up to you. The game was on itch.io, and you can download it for completely free or leave a donation if you want. There's a link in the description below to the itch.io page if you want to play it, along with the itch page for everything Temmie has there if you want to see what else she's made. But for everyone else who's already played the game, or watched the Let's Play, or just wants me to talk about the game already, let's do just that. Starting the game up gives us this still title screen showing off our main character with the basic choices of start and options. The calm music and the use of blues presented here really make for a good way to establish the game's tone. Choosing start begins its opening animation delving into the mind of this girl that is nameless to us. She dreams about a world far beyond her own that she grasps onto as much as she can before waking up again in her current existence. She sees it all through apparently a girl she admires and draws this character herself. It seriously can't be understated how beautiful and smooth this opening animation is, man. This is honestly incredible to watch. The production values already feel high for a free game like this. The shots are so eye-grabbing and the colors are so nice to look at. And speaking of colors, once actually in the game, you'll notice how all the colors in the game are all either white, black, or some shade of blue. Sticking to this simple color palette is really clever. Blue is often used as a color to represent sadness, but the blues also feel very soft and not overwhelming. This gets across how the main character feels in a very visual way. Everything in her living space feels soft and gentle, but has this feeling of sadness lingering over it all. We take control of this girl after she finishes up her drawings that are now posted on the wall, as she mentions that her parents are gone and that she's unaware of their location. Now that we've actually seen a portrait of her in a text box, I want to highlight how smart of a design choice her glasses are. The glasses on her face are huge and round, which makes it feel like she has these big, sad eyes, when her actual eyes are pretty small. Like, look at this illustration, and then look at this quick edit I made removing the glasses. Her sadness is still conveyed, but the glasses give a greater exaggeration and appeal to her design in a very nice way. She's just a very well designed character from a visual point of view. Like, God, Temmie did a really good job here. Looking around the room, we have a little pet snake who looks ill and isn't eating. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But we can also look at the drawings we made of the imaginary world that the girl desires. Your skill is not where you want it to be yet, but you're still proud of what you made. And that's such a relatable feeling, man. We got some laundry in a basket and clean clothes in a drawer, as well as a photo of our younger self. And hey, she's smiling! That's really precious. We're able to write in the journal, and the girl goes more in depth about her imaginative world she has. She wishes she was the person that she's created in her head, as she views herself as a person very poorly, and feels lonely, judging by how she states her imaginative self actually has friends. After this, we're able to simply go back to bed, or we can look around the house. The only thing we can really do is examine stuff. The house overall really isn't that big. You've got your living room, kitchen, bathroom, basement, the upper level with your parents' room and your room, and the downstairs room connecting most of the rooms with the door to the outside as well. One thing kind of worth critiquing is that there will be a number of objects that don't really have anything to say. Take this potted plant as an example. When you examine it, it literally just tells you a potted plant. And this is how several objects in the game are like. Sure, this may not be an exclusive issue to this game, but I think it would have been nice to have more personal comments, which is a pretty good way to help us get to know who we're playing as. In the bathroom, when you examine the shower curtains, it says you accidentally rip it a lot. More stuff like that would have been nice, considering this house is the only location in the game, so I feel like it very much would have been possible to do, but you know, I've made my point clear already, it's just something I noticed. There's still plenty of interesting things to get out of looking around though, like how we can eat a bit of sugar with a cute illustration to go alongside it. The art is really one of the biggest highlights about this game, which isn't really that surprising considering Temmie's background. If you examine the TV, you get this animation as if you're tuning into an episode of our cartoon. And wow, the game really did not need to go this hard with the cartoon, but it is genuinely really charming and well made for something so minor. You were in awe, you love this show. Her expression! When you have a character whose standard expression is sadness, it makes those expressions of joy stick out more. I've barely spent any time with this character, yet I love her already just because of how well her emotions are conveyed. Going back to bed gives us this quick dream sequence where we see the girl happy with her parents as she gets sent off to school. At school, she feels very isolated and shy of all those around her, but from my own interpretation, she thinks that people would like the version of her that she imagined and dreamed about, so instead of socializing, she spends all her time drawing this character, continually drawing and drawing them until there's no one around her. We wake up on the second day where the girl's parents still aren't back yet, so we have the house to ourselves again. We can try to go outside, but the girl simply pushes the idea back. Maybe tomorrow, huh? Yeah, just pushing those concerns and actions you should do to a later date. It was also on this day that I found this strange glitch where I could go inside the wall here. This doesn't really do much and isn't game breaking, but still kind of an odd thing. Going to the TV gives us this eye that just stares at us, and then that's it. That's certainly strange. And it gets even stranger when this new figure suddenly appears in the main room. This dude's orange color scheme heavily contrasts all the blues the game has established itself to have, so this immediately makes him stick out. The mysterious man is very cryptic on his reasons for being in someone else's house, and then he vanishes out shortly after. Well, not much to do besides going back to bed after that. Parents still ain't home. Our next dream is of us looking for our parents, but following that is this other figure that pleads for our help as they seem to transform into some sort of monster. The somberness this game has had is slowly being crept up on with a sense of weariness and dread. Speaking of that somberness, the music definitely helped in creating that feeling, specifically the house theme, as the chiptune has a very depressing feel to it, without becoming too overbearing. The one behind the in-game music for this game was Toby Fox, and he really did do a great job, but this guy also made Undertale's OST, which feels like it's become one of the most iconic video game OSTs in recent times. So yeah, good work here, ain't that surprising. On this next day, we're finally able to go outside, and what awaits us outside is probably the strangest thing we've encountered yet. Our house is in this distorted universe that feels like it's crumbling apart, with the guy from before just chilling right there. He advises us to go back inside, and yeah, that sounds like a safe option. We can go against his advice though, and try to leave the house, but doing this gives us a bad ending where our very existence shatters like glass. So maybe don't do that. The house itself really isn't different today. We don't even turn on the TV because the girl is too scared to. And you know, after yesterday's broadcast and what's going on outside, fair enough. The next day though, the distorted reality we're in has blended into our house. Everything in the house is pretty messed up now. Looking in the mirror gives us a shadow reflection, which probably represents our fate in the bad ending mentioned previously. There's also this doll here in the kitchen. Just as a heads up, make sure you pick up this thing to get to the right path in the story, because if you don't pick it up, well, it's another bad ending, but you can find out what happens for yourself because, wow. At the very least, the girl is not willing to enter her parents' room, seeing it as a last resort. Inside is an open journal with a message from the girl's mother. She says farewell to her daughter, as some sort of tragedy has happened to the girl's parents. She regrets having to say goodbye to her so soon, but asks the girl to move on without them, and says that she's proud of her. That's rather a lot to take in for a kid. Like, how the heck are you supposed to react after reading something like that? This is clearly all too much to handle for the girl. It certainly does add more sympathy to her character, if the depressing atmosphere around her wasn't already enough. The last thing left to do is follow the mysterious orange guy as he goes into our room. Our first location has now become our last. It's also interesting to me how calm and relaxed the portraits of the man are when you compare them to the portraits of the girl. Once again, the art shines really well with expressing characters. The girl questions the man about the location of her parents. He says they're gone, but not gone as in dead, but gone as in no longer in this world, and that there is a chance for the girl to save them. He then mentions a different world, one that the girl has been depicting in her drawings. So this world she's dreamed and thought of in her head was actually an already existing world beyond her own, and that she's been linked to it through someone who the man doesn't name, but does have her as a pronoun. The man can send the girl to this world, but she'd never be able to return to this world. But even worse, her memories of this world would deteriorate, meaning that she'd also forget about her parents. She'd be sent to this world with an objective that will eventually be forgotten. We're given the options of either leaving this world and everything we've known about it, or staying in this deteriorating world. Choosing to stay gives us this bad ending where the girl believes she didn't have the strength her parents thought she could have, as she falls into an endless sleep in this endless chasm. A rather depressing note to end the game on, so instead of that, we can choose to leave this world. A white door appears when we accept to leave, and the girl gives a goodbye to her mom and dad as she enters the door. A scene like the first bad ending that we could have starts to play, but instead of shattering like glass, the girl completely transforms. Her arms develop in fur, her dark hair becomes a strong yellow, and her small eyes develop into these large animal-like eyes. After this, the credits play, but after that, we're given a bit more dialogue from the girl as we see one more frame of her as her new self in this new world. This world is completely different from her past one, but hey, perhaps this will lead to a better, less sorrowful life than the one before. Perhaps this ending is meant to show that if you're able to make those scary steps forward with your life, when you're done pushing things back and are able to move forward through that door, you'll eventually find a way to escape your own endless chasm. And for a game like this, I think that's a message that fits well. Wait, hold on, what the heck is this? What? Yeah, after finishing the true ending, you're taken to this bonus room where you control a cat. Looking around the room gives us some illustrations and an animation of the girl after the true ending. She's living a more fulfilling life in her new form. She's certainly a lot more wild than how she was before, but she seems to now be living a free-spirited life compared to how she was before, so good for her. I would also like to say that I really love this new design the girl has. Depressed girl becomes feral dog creature. It's genius! There's also these secret journal entries from the girl's mom that you can read. You want to know how to get these to appear? When in the parents' room, while it may seem like you can't explore the whole room, you can actually move to the right and go up to the plant. And that's where the journal entries will be. I did not know that, so I had to play the game again just for that. And I already replayed the game a bunch of times before for those other endings. So if you never got this, I recommend getting it because the info in this makes for some good theory crafting. That little person dancing right here is Temmie herself, and we're able to ask her a few questions. Why am I a cat? Haven't you always been? You know what, she's got a point. Talking to her is honestly a really fun and cute way to get some commentary on aspects of the game. She apologizes for there being so little in this game, as this was a test game after all to set up for the game that she actually wants to make in the future, and she even apologizes if the depressing themes of this game offended anyone. I mean, this game may not be too much, but I really did enjoy what Temmie had to offer here. Escaped Chasm has its very unique identity due to its themes of loneliness and isolation, while still being loaded with tons of cuteness and charm that does not clash at all. Again, it's not a long game, but I do think it's a very memorable experience that has me interested in what else Temmie plans to do with this story she's got going on. There's still clearly a lot of ideas that she has left to share, and that game she said she actually wanted to make, she actually did make it. In July of 2020, Temmie released a whole new RPGmaker game. Dweller's Empty Path is its name, and it's the follow-up to this game. I'm definitely looking forward to this game to see how much larger it is in comparison to this one. But to conclude with the skipped Chasm, this is still a lovely little time. The animation is beautiful, the art is really charming, the music is a nice accompaniment, and the ideas the story shared were very interesting to me. I know the more sad tone may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I think it was done very well, and I got rather invested in it. And hey, maybe you did too. Like I said in the beginning, the game was on itch.io with a link in the description, if you still want to give the game a shot, or you just generally want to support the game. For Temmie's first shot at making the game herself, this was extremely impressive, and I am just excited to see more of her creative endeavors, with both those that exist now, and those that await in the future. Yo, thanks if you made it to the end of this video. I do plan on making a video on that Dweller's Empty Path game I mentioned earlier, so you look forward to that. Other than that, I got some older vids, you want to check those out. Bye.